They got them. Okay, live from 33rd Street. This is the Cannabis Task Force meeting for April. We have a hybrid policy here at the Community Board 4, and that hybrid policy can be found on our website. Board members are expected to attend the meetings in person unless they have a disability or an extraordinary circumstance. Excused members and members of the public will all be able to participate virtually. Members that are joining virtually will be asked to have their cameras on during the meeting. We do not have any of our task force members that are virtual today. The meeting is being recorded and live streamed on YouTube, and transcript is also available. So we have 3 items on the agenda. I do see that we have a couple of attendees in the Zoom. So the first one, we'll just check if you are associated with JG Rosedale LLC, the Hudson Yards Cannabis. If you can raise your virtual hand, that way we can bring you over. Great. I see Jacqueline. And we'll just get right to it. Hi, Jacqueline, welcome. Jacqueline, are you able to unmute?
Hello, can you hear me now?
I sure can. Is there anyone else from your team that will be joining you, or is it just you today?
I believe it's just me today.
Okay, so welcome. This is the task force for cannabis. So we'd like to hear a little bit about what you're proposing. We have the materials, but for those in the public that may be listening in, learn a little bit more about who you are and why you want to be in this community.
Okay, so my name is Jacqueline Gunn. I was born and raised in New York. I have 2 children. I have a 19-year-old son who's in college, and I have a 1-year-old daughter who I apologize you might be hearing in the background. I joined the Navy when I was 17 years old. I served 8 years. I absolutely loved it. Unfortunately, it was my time to get out. I did go to school. I got my bachelor's in psychology. I ended up going a completely different route after college. Ended up going into radiology, opening up my own business. And I've been doing that for the past few years. I love the aspect of having a business and being part of the community, especially as a mother and as a woman and as a veteran. So that is my part as far as my background. If you have any questions, please.
So I think in general, we'd like to hear a little bit about the operation, how many people, I know these are things that you would have filled out on the form, but it's good for the public to hear how many people you're expecting to hire, the type of products that you're using, and also just if you can give a little bit of your background in cannabis in terms of the education you've had about this emerging field, and where you're getting your either your education on it, or if you have some representation that is providing you some expertise.
Sure. I am a disabled veteran. Being in the Navy, I did mess up my back at a very young age, and I have scoliosis on top of that. So to say that my back hurts every day would be a true statement. And that's how, I got into cannabis at a young, early age because I was in pain every day and I did not want to take medication. I'm all about holistic and whatever you can do naturally instead of going straight to medications that are gonna, sedate you. I would rather do that. So I did get into the cannabis field that way. It's honestly the right time to get into the cannabis market, especially in New York City. It's the time is now, especially for women in this field. Since I am a veteran, we do have a lot of opportunities as far as with loans and with education. I want to start taking some courses in order to get more into the background of it. But I was talking earlier and I was like, I do want to have a lot of women working for us. I do want it to be a lot of women from the community. That way they can teach us and show us what is in the community because we want to be part of it.
Have you already enrolled or taken the courses that are offered by OCM?
Nope, not yet. I will be though.
Okay. Okay, so just open it up to questions from the task force.
I guess I'll start.
Good. Team.
First of all, thank you for your service.
Thank you.
Secondly, I'm curious, I think you started to answer this question in terms of keeping up to date. I mean, it sounds like you are into radiology, which is so different from cannabis. And of course, your mother. But the cannabis, there's so many new laws, it's changing every day. So I'm curious how you get up to speed and how you'll continue to get up to speed. That was my first question. And the second question is, in terms of the location, have you spoken to anyone who lives around the location or anyone in any block association? Yeah.
Oh, why cannabis? I think why not? Like I said earlier, right now is the time to get into this field. When I got into radiology, like I said, I got my bachelor's in psychology. I had no type of radiology background, but I succeeded. I had a great company. I was very successful for a long time. And I have a 1-year-old. So becoming part of the community, if God willing this does go through, is something that I do want to be part of. I did reach out and sent the emails to all the community members. I reached out to the phone numbers. But yeah, I think why not? You know, I think I'm smart enough, educated enough, and motivated enough to do this.
Okay, I think what we're trying to clarify is you don't happen to have a legal counsel that specializes.
Oh, I do. Yes, absolutely.
Okay.
And he's been attached to all the emails. His name is Matthew Leonardi.
Okay, thank you.
And in terms of speaking to any of the neighbors or community block associations, have you spoken to anyone about your new business?
I have reached out. I've sent out the email to all the community associations, and when I did go post the papers on the glass, I was walking around the neighborhoods checking it out. People did see me posting it, stopped me, asked me questions about it, were very interested. So it's something I definitely want to spend more time over there. If, like I said, God willing, this happens.
So I'm going to pass it over to Rodney, because that actually is going to speak directly to the community, specifically right there.
All right, so again, my name is Rodney Washington, and full disclosure, I actually live in the building. I've lived there for about, it'll be 15 years in October. So I did have a few questions. I know in your application, you said that the residents would receive a mailing, and we have not. I'm just wondering, has that gone out? If not, when? We also have building links, so I think it could have gone out sooner, but again, I will acknowledge that the postings I saw on the corner of 27th and 28th and on the actual building.
Yeah, I will definitely reach out to my attorney about that. I know that is part of what was said, so I'm hoping that did go out. But if not, that will definitely be as soon as possible.
Okay, other questions. So location, proximity on the application. Looks like the Avenue School is 528 feet. So you meet that qualification being 500, less than 500, more than 500 feet. However, on the application, you put no, that there's no park or playground. You're directly, my view is the Chelsea Park. So I'm just curious why on the application there was a no for that question.
I definitely must have overlooked that. I will, like I said, speak to my attorney about that. That obviously is wrong, and I apologize.
Yeah, most definitely. Also, just a small thing, one of the questions we asked former business, and it actually says Heller Gallery on the sign, that was left blank. The other question, there was an inconsistency in the application versus the supplemental documents. You put no online orders, no deliveries. However, on your customer management plan, you have a grab and go. You talk about online pickups. You talk about encouraging online versus delivery. So can you clarify what that is?
I know in the beginning, the delivery service is something that comes after, once you establish a business, see the demand. I think it was just a miscommunication as far as, are we going to do it, or is it something that we're not interested in?
So, I'm sorry, so your answer is, will you do it, or you're
I mean,
thinking you'll do
if
it,
the
or?
demand is there and if there's no type of regulations that say we can't, then it is something that we will be interested in.
Okay. Then, and the same question on the deliveries, right, and the online, right? So then, we don't see much about you speaking on, how you'll check, the identification on that one. We did have other questions, let's see, community outreach. I love that you talked about, working with Bridge, but can you clarify the organization Bridge in that story? I came up with a Bridge to Life or the Bridge Incorporated. The organization that you,
Sorry, it's staticky.
sure,
Hold on, hold on a second. Janine, are we having a problem with the audio?
No, I can hear you all.
Okay.
so, in your community outreach, you talked about a partner organization, Bridge. Can you clarify the name of the organization, the address? I have a Bridge to Life in Astoria, but I'm not sure if that's the organization.
I'd have to clarify that, and I'll get back to you with that because I'm not sure the exact name either.
Okay, so, and I noticed that in that same passage, you talked about working with, outreaching Queensbridge houses. So I'm wondering why you would put Queensbridge at NYCHA housing when you have Fulton and Chelsea housing down the block? Any reasoning behind that? Where you mentioned to work with Queensbridge and not to work with Chelsea, okay.
We will find that also.
Okay, you also talked about.
What was the question? What was the answer again?
Sure, she's going, so you heard about Bridge and she wanted to do education.
Right, you said-
But within that passage, she said that she would do outreach to Queensbridge
Correct.
housing. My question was, why not mention Fulton and Chelsea, Elliott houses across the street from
Exactly.
the location?
It was a miscommunication with the attorney because I did grow up in Queens, across from Bridge houses. I went to high school, so I think it was just we mentioned it, and it got misconstrued.
Okay.
Sure,
So just if I can interrupt you for 1 second, right? So just a question for you. Is this the first location that you've applied for? This specific
Storefront,
location?
there was another one, but somebody else got it as far as on the list.
Okay.
There was one prior.
Okay, thank you.
So this may be something get to, so because you mentioned that identifying target communities, you would work with the board, but I wasn't clear. Is that, do you have a board? Is that the community board or Bridges board?
Community, it would be the community board.
Okay. And again, I sort of questioned if you had actually seen, because also on the security measures, you talk about bushes and trees and checking the outside for, I guess, people stealing. But there's one tree, it's almost like a Charlie Brown Christmas tree. So I just thought maybe that was from somewhere else, and I wanted clarification. Will there be security on the premises, at the door?
Absolutely, yes. We're required to have security and cameras.
I think that's it for me. Thanks. Thank you.
Alan, I know you had your hand up.
Thank you, Jacqueline. Some of the folks who have come before us who haven't had exact experience in cannabis or have run other businesses have had a store manager with cannabis experience. Being that you're a mother, 2 kids, certainly I wouldn't expect you to be here every day, every hour. Is there somebody on your team who does have experience in managing a cannabis store or dealing with cannabis?
Absolutely. We'll definitely have managers and staff that's experienced. And even though I have 2 kids, I obviously want to be part of the everyday operations. So even though I'm a mother, I'll make it happen.
So that's not part of you, that's not your built out team yet. That's not part of your team at this point.
I'm sorry, I just a static.
You don't have anybody on your team at this point.
Do you have a team already?
Nobody on the team yet, no.
Gotcha. Okay, all right, thank you.
You know, I'm wondering if the give me a moment, Jacqueline, I'm sorry, just checking. It does say owl and it is lit up.
Mhm.
We're trying to figure out why you're having trouble hearing us, so.
Honestly, this is my son's college laptop, and I think there's just
Oh, okay.
not gonna lie to you.
That explains it, really.
All right, well, at least you have something, so that's great. Any other questions?
Yes,
Raul?
you stole many of my questions, Rodney. And they were tough questions. The inconsistencies in the application were a little bit troubling to me. In that, on the one hand, you said that you're not gonna do deliveries and you're not gonna do telephone orders, you're not gonna do online. And yet on the community outreach document, you talk all about doing that. So that was a little bit troubling to me. Another part that is troubling to me, Jacqueline, is that you don't have any experience running a cannabis store. You have experience running a business apparently, but not a cannabis store, which is very particular, very peculiar type of business. And with a lot of nuances in terms of what's legal and what's not legal at the state and at the federal level, which can get you very easily into a lot of trouble if you don't manage that very carefully. The good things that I saw in the application, Jacqueline, were your intention of sharing your profits. I think you said 2% for people who have gotten themselves in trouble and need money to be able to clear their record. I love that. And also that you intend to have a employee profit sharing plan. I think for up to 5% of your net annual profits. My question is, what is the miscommunication that happened with your attorney that there are such glaring inconsistencies between your application and your supporting documentation? What happened there?
Yes. It's been a long process. We've been at this for years. Like I said, I did have a location prior. We did have many discussions. The rules and regulations have changed many times. I will speak to him and figure out the right plan and get that over to you guys. As far as we do want to give back to the community, especially with everything going on right now, and me having my own business before, I know how hard it is for people to succeed. I know how hard it is for people that have records, that have military experience, that have been in the military for so many years and then come out and don't know anything. I was an engineer in the Navy. I can't become an engineer in the real world. That's not realistic because it's different worlds. So I want to give the felons and I want to give the ex-military opportunities. And the employees we have are going to mean a lot to us because nothing really matters except your employees. That's how you succeed. So I may not have the knowledge of cannabis, but I will have the knowledge of cannabis. And I do have the knowledge of running a successful business. And I will have the best staff that there is to have that will make sure this business succeeds because I have no choice.
Jacqueline, I noticed that you said that it's taken a long time to get things going. The lease that you showed was signed the 20th of February. So that's about 2 months ago. Have you made 2 lease payments already on this location?
Yes.
But you're just an applicant. You still don't have a license, but you're taking the gamble and went ahead and made those lease payments.
Right.
Okay, that's it. Thank you.
Thank you.
Wendy?
No, I was gonna say, do you wanna hear from the community?
Yes.
I think you might.
Yeah, and then I have a couple other questions for that. So, looks like we have a couple hands up, Janine. Please, if you could bring over Maya, Jennifer, and Phyllis.
Sure, 1 second.
Hi, Maya, you can unmute now. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Jacqueline, it's lovely to meet you and thank you for your service as well. I am a a person who lives right on the same block as well. I have children who attend the Avenue School. I'm also a physician and I have a doctoral degree in public health. So this is an area that I've really read a lot about. And, you know, as much as I recognize that there are medical indications for people with chronic pain, I think we need to take very seriously that there is a lot of emerging data suggesting that putting a store like the one you're proposing in the vicinity of two vulnerable populations, one being the children at the Avenue School and the other being the residents of the rent-controlled housing operations, could have disastrous public health implications. I don't know if you've read about the emergence of the cannabis hyperemesis syndrome affecting up to 30 people who are regular users who end up in the ER. And I have seen this syndrome emerging. There's a lot of data showing that just proximity can really be a major risk factor. And I think we as a community, parents aside, I'm a parent, but even for those who are not parents, need to really think carefully about whether this is the right location for the store you're proposing. It's not that I don't wish you all the best and success. I just am thinking about this from a public health risk standpoint.
Thank you, Maya. Phyllis?
As a mother, I completely understand your concerns. I do understand why the over the 500 feet regulation was put into place, because they have done research where this works. I completely understand your concerns as a parent. I have two children of my own. I have a little 1-year-old girl, but I wouldn't have applied. I wouldn't have put every cent, everything I have into this if these regulations were not put into place for a reason. That has nothing to do with me. That's just something that you know was there for a reason. It's worked for a reason.
Thank you. Phyllis, you can unmute now.
Good evening. I'm Phyllis Waisman, and I'm a resident in Chelsea. While I congratulate Jacqueline on wanting to hire veterans and incarcerated people, I am concerned the same as the lady before me about the location of the park being so close and the Avenue School. In fact, I sent an email when I got the notification that this cannabis store was seeking approval from the community board. I wrote and said, what made you select a location so close to a park? And I never heard back from anybody, which I consider to be a lapse in not wanting to listen to the community. And I'm concerned about that. A lot of her plans sound a little flimsy to me, and nothing sounds definitive. So I have real concerns about that. Thank you.
Jacqueline, maybe you can give us a little bit of an indication of why you chose this location and whether or not you're familiar with the various populations that live in and around that spot that you've chosen.
Yeah, absolutely. It's a beautiful location. Like I said, I grew up in New York. I've been all over New York. I worked in the city for a while, and it was a location that it was available. It fit the regulations of what we needed. So I applied for it. I did understand that the school was there, but it was outside of the range that I needed it to be. And I like I said, I didn't make that rule. I'm just enforcing it and going with it, you know.
Thank you. Jennifer, you can
Yes.
unmute now.
And I'm so
Hi,
sorry that
welcome.
somebody
Can you
didn't
hear
reach
me?
back out to you.
Sorry, yeah, Phyllis had written the community board, not you. So,
Hi,
Yeah.
Yeah. Sorry, Jennifer, please go ahead.
can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Excellent. I am also a parent of 3 teenagers at the Avenue School. And I don't know if you're aware, but there's another preschool that is also right across the street. And PS 33 is uncomfortably close. And I do think that as a parent, I am very, very staunchly uncomfortable with another cannabis store opening. against all the ones that are already in existence. This is not, those kids do not need to be exposed to more. This is akin to putting an ice cream truck in front of the school. And those ball fields are used by every organization, every sports organization, whether it be GVLL or the soccer teams, high school to preschool we were talking about. I believe the preschool is within the boundaries of, I don't know how you are able to build something so close, because I think it's right across the street. But to be, and not only that, I know that the high school students, they are able to go out for lunch, and they all eat lunch at that Hudson market. That is the de facto cafeteria. It is downright diabolical to have a location right there. We are fighting so hard as a community. I do not think we need this.
Thank you, Jennifer. Did we just lose? Janine, did we just lose, Jacqueline?
Yeah, I'm not. Oh, she's back. She's back.
Hi, Jacqueline. Okay, we lost you for a moment there. Can you hear us, Jacqueline?
You're on mute.
You're on mute. We just want to make sure you can still hear us now. Okay. So I'm just making this statement, just for the general public, just so that they understand a little bit, of the background of what the community board does. And just so we can just level set. First off, we're not weighing in on, whether or not cannabis is good or bad. What we are, reviewing is whether or not these applications, based on, the regulation that has been put out, whether or not the applicant and the location they're choosing is appropriate for our community. And those are the things that we're weighing. Also, there is a distinction between the folks that are coming to the community board. They're actually folks that are applying through a legal process, and they will be legal cannabis shops that have very strict regulations on identification that has to be shown, and law. They have, as Jacqueline already mentioned, cameras are required, security is required. There's also strict rules on the age of anyone that can consume, and there's other regulations that are in place. So I just wanted to at least level set. Yes, our community has been inundated with a ridiculous amount of very harmful illicit shops, but that is not what this is. And so I just wanted to make sure the broad public does not think that we are overall opining on cannabis itself, and whether or not, and we're also not speaking to folks that are operating illegally in any way, shape, or form. So I think what you're hearing, Jacqueline, in if the task force doesn't agree, please speak up. I think what you're hearing is a lot of pushback for a few reasons. One, the location is a little bit troublesome because of the fact that there is a proximity to a park and some schools, even though by regulation you are in your right to choose this location. You're also hearing some pushback because of the experience factor. I don't think that anyone doubts a successful person who's had a business before. We certainly do not doubt those that have served our country. I think it's because cannabis, as we have been learning as a community and a community board, is extremely difficult to navigate as a new industry. And a lot of the applicants that we've heard have been really making sure that they are partnering with advisors as well as legal representation that understands this industry that is emerging. And I think that is a part of why you're hearing pushback. Does that sound like what you also are feeling? I don't want to speak for everyone.
No, I think so. I'll say when I first saw, and what I love Jacqueline's intention. So my background is public service. So everything I saw leading up to the application was exciting. I think for what you described for your employees is the best that we've ever seen for anybody giving to their employees. However, for me, that's not enough, because I'm not comfortable that you, in one place you said no online, yes, because what we've seen is people will come to us and they will tell us our hours are going to be 11 to 2 in the afternoon. Once they open, they go 8 a.m. to 2 a.m. So we're looking for me, I think the application I take very seriously. I'm looking for you to tell me to be as exact as you can, and then, because coming into this, I wasn't sure how I felt about having a cannabis at the bottom of my building. But I could live with it, because I've seen some cannabis stores that are unbelievable and super, super nice, and if it's not my thing, it's not my thing. But I guess, again, the inconsistency, and I even thought, because some of the things made me think, like, have you been to the neighborhood? Although you said you put up the signs yourself, I just felt like, the small details of, I will check the groundwork outside for bushes, and there's no bushes. It's a sidewalk and a Charlie Brown Christmas tree right in front of it. And so those things, yeah, I mean, I like everything you said. I think you sound great, just that the paperwork for me didn't match up. Yeah.
Well said, Rodney. I agree.
You're on mute, Jacqueline. Jacqueline, you're on mute. You're on mute. There you go.
Apologize about that. I will definitely get with my attorney. Like I said, we have changed locations. I don't know if that on his end was a mistake. I obviously, what's there is there, what's not there was not there. So I apologize for that discrepancy, and I hope that that's not enough to not allow us in the community, because we do want to be a beautiful addition to the community. We do want to have great security. We do want it to add to the essence of the community. So sorry about the screen.
Wendy, you were gonna say something?
Yeah, I was just gonna say, I think I agree, like it sounds like you would be a great addition to the community and that you really earnestly want to do that. I think the challenge, given some of the pushback we're obviously hearing from the community, and then just also some of the experience that we've now had with other applicants, is that sometimes that intention and then in practice, it's different. And not necessarily for any bad intentions on the applicant's part, really, because it is such a difficult industry. And so I think that is where having, partnering with someone who has a lot of that experience that you don't have, potentially could be really great, because then you understand the industry better and can potentially, avoid some of the pitfalls that, other business owners are experiencing. And I think that would assuage some of the concerns from the community as well, given the proximity to schools, the proximity to the park, et cetera.
Well, sorry.
I couldn't agree with you more, Wendy and Rodney. And I feel for you, Jacqueline, because according to the lease, you've already paid out. If what you said about you have to pay at least 2 months away, you already paid out $72,000 in rent, so I feel for you. But I'm troubled with the inconsistencies, and I would have thought that you would have dotted all your I's and crossed all your T's to apply for a cannabis license in this particular neighborhood. And that's not the case, so I'm really troubled by that.
I just want to also say, I want to encourage you to go to the small business and take courses, because that also adds to the credibility of your work and your ability, and it's there for you to take, the small business cannabis.
Yeah, small business.
OCM has that class.
OCM as well as SBFs are offering specifically for this industry, not only classes, but some certifications, et cetera. Am I hearing anyone who wants to make a motion?
Well, before that,
Okay.
let me ask you this. Jackie, is it possible for you to go back to your attorney and come back with a correct application or a correction?
Absolutely. That was going to happen as soon as we got off this phone. Absolutely.
So you could, is that possible? I mean.
Well, I think there's also an issue with the community. I mean, quite frankly, that's why my first question came up. We see what happens when we don't talk to the community beforehand, and the community has very big concerns. I mean, what they have said I'm sorry to say, it did have a large impact on me. So if anything, if we are gonna in some way adjourn this, there has to be communication between you and at least the 3 people who spoke tonight.
And the people of the building.
Yeah, the building. Yes.
Yeah. Right.
I mean, Jacqueline, I'll just say that, you're entering an industry that you have started to do your homework in, and so you've learned the things that are very positive about it. There's a lot of folks that may not have that same point of view, and there's a lot of folks that also may not have all the information. So one of the hurdles that anyone has been trying to open up in our community has had is to, provide a presentation that shows that they understand that the community does not, has not had a great experience with all of the illicit shops in our community. And that has tainted the view, but also not recognizing, particularly if they're not familiar with the products, why this would be an additive to the community. And I don't think that we're hearing here what this is going to bring that's positive to the community, considering, one, we already have some legal shops that are open. Clearly, they're outside the 1,000-foot of your proposed location. But there already are here, and then there's still a lot of the illicit. So you're battling against some of those things. So you were thinking maybe to ask to postpone. I'm hearing something a little bit different from Tina, that there's still the community concerns. Do we have?
Well, I would still would like to see a qualified manager on board that we can speak to. So that would have to be part of an application, so.
Yeah, qualified team manager.
Okay, so am I hearing that you're leaning towards requesting that the applicant comes back after? Okay, well, that's why I'm asking, you know, what is it that we, after hearing from the community, the questions that we just asked, where are we leaning with this applicant?
I think I would be comfortable with requesting the postponement, but with the caveats of, you know, Jacqueline, we've heard all of the concerns. And this is recorded and it's on YouTube, so you and your attorney can also come back and listen, but I think the major concerns being experience and then the location factor, and so I think postponing would give you the opportunity, I think, to come back with, you know, address some of the issues with the application, address these big concerns around the experience, but then also give you the time to talk to the community. And I think if you postpone and come back, we hear from the community around whether the conversations that have happened in that month or however long you postponed, whether that they feel comfortable to say you have the right security plan, you have the right staff in place, the concerns about, you know, high school students going to lunch next door, you know, that's all, we feel good about it. That would be a different story. That's a different conversation. So that all is going to come up again. So it's not postponing and then we'll just change our minds. I think it's like postponing to then get to the point where we have, you know, better answers to those questions, basically.
Why did you make that a motion? I will second it.
Well, do we, I mean, I would make that, do we make a motion?
But you don't have to repeat it exactly what you said.
Jacqueline, obviously, as Raul's asked the question about already having an executed lease, et cetera. We have in the past asked applicants to come back. Some of them may not have been as deeply into it financially as maybe you have. Usually that is for folks to clarify things, but I think what you're hearing the ask here is something a little bit deeper. It's about demonstrating that what you are bringing to this community adds value to the community, and also that you have an understanding enough of this emerging industry that you can execute on being able to follow those guidelines, those rules, et cetera, and protect the community from some of what we've seen from the illicit shops. So that is a question specifically for you. Are you in a position to be able to go ahead and get that work done and come back to us to try again?
I heard loud and clear all the concerns and what I need to bring to the table, and absolutely.
Okay, so
In that case, move to postpone, given all the caveats that I mentioned earlier.
I second that motion.
okay, so the motion on the table is to ask the applicant to come back, but to work on communicating directly with the community and understanding their concerns and trying to address them, as well as to get started on the education part and possibly some representation that can help you navigate, this industry.
And clear up the inconsistencies.
And also provide provide the application, which hopefully, maybe we might be able to provide you with a cleaner version of the application, where you can, be a little bit more clear to the questions that we had. So that's the motion. All those in favor? Anyone opposed? Alan, you abstaining? Okay. So, Jacqueline, what we'll do is we'll have our board office connect with you again, if there's any other groups, or block associations, boards, et cetera, that you might wanna, get in touch with. We'll also ask them to provide the contacts of those that have reached out that you heard here on the call in case they would like to continue that conversation with your intended business. And you'll see a letter to this effect, no, actually, no, we're postponing, so we're not writing a letter on it. But we will be in contact so that we can go ahead and continue the conversation on how maybe to make this work.
Okay, thank you for your time.
Thank you. Okay, so I am going to just mark that down. You were an abstain, correct, Alan? Okay. All right. Okay, so Janine, if you can help us out, we're gonna go to the second item on the agenda, which, you know, oddly enough, this is 3 meetings in a row. I think maybe even 4 where the proximity to parks has come up. And even though this resolution from CB2 isn't specifically about parks, I just wanted to note that the CB2 and a couple other CBs are writing their own guidelines for what they would like to see in terms of where a cannabis shop would be located. And one of the things that continues to come up is proximity to parks. People are very concerned about that. Janine, if you're able to bring up the resolution that CB2 has come up with, and then I'll provide just some very high level background.
This was not part of the uploaded documents, were they?
Yes, yes.
What? I didn't see that.
Oh, I'm sorry. So just bottom line is that the OCM is making some changes to the rules. And let me just do this so we have maybe an easier way to see it. Whoops, sorry.
Oh, no, I did see the proposals from OCM, but this is from Community Board 2, is it? Or no? Yeah, this is Community Board 2. I don't see that now.
So essentially, you did see the OCM rule. So OCM is trying to create some stricter regulations, trying to clean up a little bit after learning from the year. And there's some very specific things that they're trying to change. However, the big thing is that although they are creating additional restrictions, they are proposing to reduce the proximity that a legal cannabis shop can have. And right now, it's nothing within 1,000 feet of each other, right? And so we've been speaking to applicants now for over 1.5 years, and there have been folks that have applied within that 1,000 feet, but not all of them would be getting that license. OCM is recommending that it should be reduced from 1,000 feet to 500 feet. So essentially similar to for liquor licenses, where we as a board looked at they're not more than that there's not a concentration, right? So there's not a lot of closeness to all of these operations. OCM is actually putting in a regulation that you can have cannabis shops within 500 feet of each other, which means one thing that we talked about very early on is that we recognize that unlike the illicit shops that just sprung up like weeds, pun intended, that we would not have that situation with legal and licensed cannabis shops, because there would be a saturation point. At some point, you would not have any more that can come into a community because of the 1,000-foot rule. If they reduce that to 500, we potentially can double that. And so that is something that may be a concern for our community. And it is a concern for Community Board 2, and they've already passed this resolution. So for the purpose of the fact that Raul did not see, does anyone else not see this?
I didn't see it.
You didn't see this one?
The OCM pieces in it.
Yeah,
I don't see it.
Oh, my bad. I might have read it because I got it in another email, but I thought it was in the Dropbox, so I'm sorry.
Can you make it a little bit bigger?
Yeah, let me try also to change the view here. View, so that we see this standard.
Well, I think we can all agree on the box thing, so if there's anything particular that addresses these issues that OCN is presenting, maybe we could just read that. Or highlight those.
But it's not a long resolution.
Oh, okay.
It's only 7 pages.
Oh, so read on.
You want me to read?
Can you make it larger, please? You have it at 87%, and you can probably increase it to like 100.
Janine, is there a way to, put this maybe in presentation form and make it bigger? Not sure.
Can she send this to our emails? Should you put this in the Dropbox?
I don't
No,
think,
she-
no, it wasn't in the Dropbox. I can put it in if you want right now.
No,
Well, you want
Just.
Alan wants it. Alan-
Don't put it on, it's a big deal.
I can throw it in right now. It's fast.
When you have a chance, no,
Yeah.
no.
Alan just wants to play along,
Whatever,
you know,
I'm with the group.
Okay, I mean, if you want, you can just let me know when to scroll through it and then I can scroll.
Dolores, do you like everything in there? Is that why? Is that-
again,
Are they for this change or against the change or? what?
they have very specific concerns. Oh,
I'm sure
that
they
made,
have concerns also.
that made it smaller.
47.
There you go.
Yeah,
Okay.
if I make it bigger, it just kind of cuts off. You can let me know when to scroll through it and then I can just scroll as you go.
So, again, I think here's where this is gonna get difficult. We're gonna read it out loud, so we can go from the beginning in this, and I apologize for us going to grade school here, and we're gonna read out loud. And CB2, like a lot of community boards, they do whereases instead of business letters, so it's gonna sound a little funny. Whereas per Cannabis Control Board, CCB, resolution number 2024-96 on October 23rd, 2024, the Office of Cannabis Management, OCM, posted proposed rulemaking for amendments to adult use dispensary standards for public convenience and advantage to the New York State Registry. And whereas it adopted the proposed amendments to the New York Comp Code, R&R regs, tilt, that's legal speak. Tina, you know that stuff, would significantly lower the standards for granting waivers that allow retail cannabis businesses to bypass proximity restrictions by giving the Cannabis Control Board the authority to approve dispensaries within a 1,000-foot radius of others based on public convenience and advantage. And whereas in December of 2024, Community Board 2 submitted comments via the resolution recording public convenience and advantage, recommending considerable revisions to that 24 proposed ruling. Whereas the 6-day comment period, okay, that stuff's not relevant. Let's go to exactly when they talk about the recommendation. That's how many voted. So they basically, most people on the board were vote, blah, blah. Let's go to 7. These are broad comments. Okay. I don't know how to read whereases very well, I'll be honest. I like to read business letters. Okay, so here's where we get to the meat of it. It's the smaller print. So if we can scroll down, this is where they have written what they're concerned with. So if you take a look at it, they're highlighting and crossing out things. And again, they're literally going into the details of the proposal. So here they've highlighted within a 2,000-foot radius of registered organization or any other premises for which a retail dispensary license or microbusiness license has been issued in a municipality having a population of 20,000 or less. So, and again, it doesn't apply here. We're not a population of 20,000 or less. So
What is ROD, R-O-D?
it is explained higher up, which is, sorry, it's on the next page, I think. I think it's above.
Registered organization with dispensing.
Thank you. Is that what it is?
think so,
Yeah,
in that
yeah,
94, that's the italicized section.
yeah, on the front page, I think we just left out dispensary. So registered organization,
OCMXROD, okay.
Okay, so basically a registered dispensary. Okay.
Thank you.
Do me a favor, Janine, let's scroll down to page 6 towards the end, because I'm hoping they came to a conclusion here. No, because again,
Therefore, let's look where therefore.
so let's go back a little bit, sorry, obviously they
Therefore.
Okay, so here we go, all right, there we go, there's a therefore, thank you. That they urge the Office of Cannabis Management to adopt the their recommendations are all the ones that are scrapped. I'm gonna check, because I believe that we received an email that explained this a little bit differently, so give me 2 seconds, everybody. MCB2 Cannabis, here we go.
There were some emails in the Dropbox that had the language for the amendments.
Yes, I think that is what it was, where it was written in plain English, not in whereases.
Yeah, that's right. So I'm gonna pull that up.
That would be great.
Okay. Can you all see that?
We can, and that is the same email that I did receive as well.
it's the OCM.
Yeah, it's the OCM piece. So, I mean, honestly, I think that the fact that we didn't see exactly their, resolution as a task force, even I'm trying to read, that's sort of silly for us to opine without having any information that we all have absorbed. However, did folks get a chance to read, what the OCM changes were?
Yes,
Is it
I
not?
don't understand it at all.
I don't understand anything, so,
And I don't see, there's nothing in here that says why they're doing it. What's the purpose? Where's the data that needs to be done? Blah, 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 all that.
so that's under the regulation, but we can very easily, I would say, assume. The purpose is there's a lot of product that has already been produced within New York State that has not been moved because they don't have places to sell them. So there has been a change within OCM in order to streamline the process, to expedite the process, so that farmers who have committed to this industry don't lose their investments.
That's OCM's problem.
Yeah.
They should deal with the farmers, just like, number 45 did with his farmers. Took money out of our pocket, paid him, he's gonna do the same thing, just, it's a cycle.
I get you,
Okay,
I get you.
but I think, look, something like this, I think if we go ahead with making recommendations, are we gonna have a public hearing on this? Is the public, because here we sent out an agenda indicating that there may be more legal dispensaries in our community, nobody showed up on it. So the wording might be a little bit, cumbersome, people didn't really understand, they say, I gotta go to dinner tonight and come to the committee, but if we're going to go ahead with making recommendations one way or the other, then people should have an opportunity to do, that's just a suggestion.
So and I think my understanding is that there was a presentation that was made to CB2, which of course we have.
So why can't we get a presentation?
Yeah, so I don't know who made that presentation, I don't know if they put it together themselves. The bottom line is I think what we're seeing here is there's some rule changes. And it may very much impact the community, and I think what is important is that we need to, one, have someone present to us what these changes are. And to be honest, if OCM cannot do that, this is something I throw out to all of you for your thoughts, and it's something I also would consult with Jesse and team. We did have a lawyer who was representing her client at our last month's meeting, who lives in the community, is
Yeah.
extremely knowledgeable, has offered to provide some guidance, that was said that maybe an opportunity if, just to understand, because clearly she's gonna have to know how that impacts all of her clients that may be in this industry. Alan?
I have a question. Maybe if you know, if anybody knows, what's happening with, is it a lawsuit? Regarding illegal dispensaries, did they bring the state court on this? Is that?
So there was a judge that had ruled that the state did not have the right to close them down for various reasons. I do not know what the latest update that is, but I can tell you what I am seeing, at least in our community, are more and more empty storefronts that used to have cannabis shops in them. So for whatever reason,
They
we're,
may be just, taking a walk on their own
yeah,
instead of being hassled someone.
or the landlords maybe.
Or the landlord.
Or the landlords may be deciding not to renew leases, but we are seeing some relief there. I don't know if anyone else has noted closed cannabis shops, illegal cannabis shops in the community. But back to this, I think the most significant change that's being proposed is reducing that 1,000-foot proximity rule to 500 feet. And I do think that that is something that we have heard various pushback for many applications for a lot of reasons. But I don't think that people were pushing back because there already was one 1,200 feet. I don't know how the community would feel at large if they knew that there would be spaced out in a way that maybe we see our bars spaced out, which is right on top of each other.
Well, I was certainly troubled when I saw this. I already have a problem with there being only 1,000 feet between stores. I would like to see it be more like 2,000 feet.
Yeah.
So, now this proposal it's supposed to be, we're supposed to be coming back to them with comments. And there is a deadline on it, right? Monday, May 19th.
Yeah.
We may not be able to get that attorney to give us a presentation before then and still be able to respond to it. But if not, I certainly would be totally against reducing the distance from 1,000 to 500. I'd like to see an increase of 2,000.
Well, we do have time, because if we have this on the April agenda with a presentation and a letter comes out, that would be voted on in the May meeting, which means we could testify as a community board as well as present the letter.
When did we get this letter? The intent to make the change?
We actually ended up not getting that from OCM. We ended up getting just CB2's response, and that was, I think, 2 weeks ago.
So 2 weeks, then they want an answer, let's say, by something.
May
May 19th.
A quick comment would be, we appreciate, blah, blah, blah. Come back in 2 years. Once you have data as to why you might need to put more in, there's some funny language in here. So something about, unless there's something good for the community kind of wording.
Yep.
Right?
Yep.
Then
The
there's
community
something-
benefit.
Something else if there's financial benefit, right? So does that mean that if dispensary X is making a lot of money, they feel that they should put somebody else in there so that they can share the money with dispensary Y? I mean, what is the goal of this whole thing? So if the state has every right to say, change their regulations, but they really need to come back with some data, some goals, purposes, and then let the community decide if they want to come back in 2 years. But the rollout now is only, things are just starting to gel a little bit. The dispensaries, people are just starting to get their feet wet and making, after all the bungling that went on for the last couple of years and everything else. So it's only been operating, less than a year in a certain, concerned fashion. Everything else has been problems and left and right. These poor folks over there got financially bogged down with these loans that they went into to open up these places.
So I have the date, on April 2nd, was when this was posted, and comments, it's a 45-day comment period, so May 19th, 2025, midnight, you can submit your comments. So we do have time. And again, I think that there are other community boards that are self-educating, meaning that they have folks that are digging through this and going through it. And that's what we see is their resolution is actually just highlighting parts of it, like instead of just writing out exactly what they want and what they don't want. I think that from our board style, it's probably better if we know what we want and what we don't want. So here's what I'm proposing. Twofold. One, to see if the office can reach out to OCM to see if they can present to us next month. And or see if any of the legal representatives in this industry that have come before the board, if they have time and are willing to provide us a community service, the education around this proposed change at next month's meeting. But I'm also going to ask that we do a little homework. We did this, I believe a year and a half ago. We broke down the various chapters of the proposal to opine on it at a meeting. I do believe, if I'm looking at it, it is 6 pages. It's not that long. And so, do we think that we have time before next month's meeting, maybe a week before, that each of us can read this and provide comments that we could then post in the Dropbox ahead of next month's meeting?
Now, next month's meeting, are you talking about the full board meeting?
No, sorry, I'm talking about the Cannabis task force.
Well, the cannabis next month would be.
May 15th.
Oh, shoot, I'm
No.
already thinking of where, I'm thinking this is, I've been
Exactly,
saying this as if we're already in,
yeah.
okay, my bad. I
So
was assuming
the
that.
deadline is the
April,
19th.
that I still had all of April. I missed a month here.
Yeah,
My bad.
yeah, we won't make the cutoff.
Yes, my bad. Okay,
Does the
so
full board need to vote on whatever our resolution is, or whatever?
we can do something that is, we can. If something is voted off by exec, then that can then be voted at full board post, meaning that it already went through exec, so we can aim for exec.
But exactly, I think it's April 28th, and then the next one would be after the comments are due.
Right, so we can aim as without a presentation for all of us to dig into this to give an opinion. Which would mean getting by the 24th or 25th, a week from today, if we can provide comments and perhaps with our collective comments, I can draft a letter to send to exec. So that we can then at least have something on record, and that will give us the opportunity to, one, either have someone as a representative of the board testify at the hearing, or just to submit our recommended letter.
I think that's what we're gonna have to do, because I think we're gonna want something on record in response. And so I think.
So I apologize.
Exec routes.
Yes, I mixed up. I really thought we had it in month. I thought we were in March, but we're in April.
I was hoping you were right in my head. I was like, okay.
No, it's
yeah,
the
we can
weather.
afford time.
It's the weather. It feels like February,
We have more
not
time.
today. So what then we would be asking to do is we're not gonna vote on anything now, because we don't have anything that we know about. We're gonna do homework if that's okay, and if I can ask if by next Wednesday/Thursday. If you can provide comments, and again, they're gonna be comments just based on our experience of being on this task force, not having the details of what OCM's intentions are, et cetera. What we like, what we don't like, what we've heard from the community that maybe we know won't resonate or might resonate, and provide those comments, and then I can then turn that around by Friday to draft a letter to send to everyone, if we're comfortable with it, have it presented Monday at exec.
So it'll be next Wednesday, the 23rd.
Wednesday or Thursday at the latest. Is,
Okay.
now, are you still feeling a little,
Yeah, I mean, have you answered an economic justification that highlights high consumer demand for additional retail? I mean, whether there's a demonstrated need for such license.
So those are the comments that we can
Public-
make. We
public
can,
convenience and advantage.
we can ask how they're going to, have someone prove that. What are the metrics that are used to demonstrate that someone meets that demand or,
Yeah.
or,
Mhm.
you know, maybe it's giving an opinion saying that you don't think that this is a valid metric at all, or whatever it is that you're
Alright.
getting from it.
It's whatever
let's
comes-
put it together.
Whatever comes out of it.
So sorry, that was all wishy-washy and also messed up because I'm so tired, I forgot what month it was.
No.
All right, so no vote for that. We're gonna do our homework. And again, we'll also provide in the Dropbox, when you have time, Janine, doesn't have to be tonight, but if you can also throw in that resolution with all those whereases, so we can get a little bit more educated. And then get this done in time. Now, with apologies, this is Dolores also dropping the ball. We had a very, very good, robust discussion, which is all captured online last month, which went literally question by question to improve the application. And so we have all that. What I did not get to you was to put that all together based on our comments, so it was not in the Dropbox. So what's in the Dropbox is where we were last month, which was a great improvement on its own, thanks to Raul and Alan, but it did not include all the comments that we made. I don't think that we need to have this discussion again, unless somebody wants to go through it again. All we need to do is, and again, I dropped the ball on that, is to, and I can also have that by exec, is to take all the comments we made last month, including the preamble statement that we have, so that people understand why we're asking and what the real purpose is for that application. And then the streamlining of questions that we've already gone through. Are we okay with that instead of having to relitigate the whole? I was afraid there, Raul,
Yeah.
because I know that you did all the rewriting and then you went through all the nitpicking.
Of my own rewriting.
All right. Let me just quickly check, because we still have a couple people. No, actually, it says 3. Oh, no, it's interesting. Just checking if there was anyone else in the public that had something that they wanted to bring up or say. I don't see any hands raised. So with that, can I get a motion?
Sounds good.
Motion to adjourn. All those in favor? All right, Janine, this was a nice, easy, quick one, only because I don't think that we had everything we needed tonight on our own, on our side, but we'll, we appreciate that you helped us try to get through this. Thank you.
Thanks, Janine.
Anytime. Have a good night.
Good night.
Good night, Janine.
Bye.